getting to know you, having a good nose about you, having a gander, looking at what makes you tick.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Properganda with myself, the Shed Man, and my good friend, Mr. Cannington Lynn. Hello.
Good evening. A lot of people doubted us,
Yeah.
I reckon.
I think they did.
Yeah, I thought they won't pull nothing off, shouldn't they? Everyone will be in Prague. They're both lazy fuckers. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, but not with us. We keep going.
Yeah,
Nothing
because we're
stops us.
towners.
We are.
That's what we do.
We can talk forever, which is lucky really when you do a podcast, people, because
it comes in handy.
Yeah, it'll be like this, but it ain't because we don't. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Properganda. Me and Len, we're gonna run with them through the summer probably. Next week, I doubt it, we'll probably be talking about the upcoming final and the ramifications of whatever happens out there. But we wanted to do the first one with a fan, obviously, that's never seen West Ham win anything, because Len and myself are obviously, we were old enough to remember the golden age of West Ham United. Oh,
yeah, went in a flash, didn't it?
Yeah, it turned up. We were sort of born in the middle of it. We caught the end of it, and then we've spent 40 odd years waiting for it to turn up again. But we managed to find a listener who was willing to come on and talk to us about what it's like to be a West Ham fan when we're always crap and never see us win anything. And we're joined by a good friend of the show. You might know him on Twitter. His Twitter name is Dan with a lot of numbers. And
Vicious fucker he is.
Yeah, which I generally take the piss out because I can't keep up with all the numbers he's got. But anyway, welcome to the show. We're going to call him Dan Numbers. Hello, Dan.
Evening all.
How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. You keeping well?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. It's getting a bit nervous now for Wednesday.
Yeah. Are you jetting off out there, or are you?
Yeah, so there's a few of us travelling out tomorrow evening, starting the journey tomorrow evening, and we'll get to Prague around about lunchtime on Wednesday, the day of the game.
All right. What, are you walking then, if it's tomorrow evening?
Well, we've done it on a bit of a budget way, so we kind of we had it in place after the first leg and took a bit of a risk because the prices were quite good. So we're stopping over in Germany overnight, and then we've got a train across in the morning.
Where are you going? Nuremberg or
to Berlin.
To Berlin.
And then train to Prague. It's about 4 hours.
Oh, was it? Oh, it's not too bad, is it, actually?
No, it's not too bad. I think to Manchester's probably, 2, 3, 4 hours if you go to
Sprechen
Newcastle.
der Deutsch?
Absolutely none, mate.
Oh, 9.
Nigel's German. You can be German and be a tanner.
I can, yeah, jawohl. Actually, before the First World War, Cannington was full of Germans. And then during the First World War, they all changed their name. So obviously got fed up with all the bricks being thrown through their windows. Oh, anyway, Dan?
Yes, mate.
What's it like to be a West Ham fan and never see us win anything? To be constantly told by old farts like us how good it was in our day?
Well, I suppose the simple answer to that is don't know any different. Don't know any. Do you think for as long as I think my first game was probably about mid-90s. I must be the only person who doesn't really remember their first game for sure. But it was either Wimbledon at home or Southampton. I think when Tissier was there. So you're talking like mid-90s.
Yeah.
And like I say, ever since then, all it's been is relegations and then the odd promotion back, and then obviously we had that one glimmer of hope at that cup final 2006, where you're never going to get any closer than that without winning something. And obviously ever since then, obviously as well, we've not been anywhere near anything either. So, I mean, obviously everyone talks about the good old days, but I've absolutely no difference to me, because obviously I've not seen anything. I've had one final in, what's that, nearly 40 odd years now?
Yeah, 43.
And even like one of the second leg of the second leg against Alkmaar, I watched it with my dad and my granddad, and my granddad always tells me about the days like back in the 60s, like when he was at Wembley 3 years in a row, when we won was it don't know which order it was, but there was the FA Cup, the UEFA
Winners'
Cup,
Cup.
and then the World Cup at the following year.
Yeah.
So you, obviously your dad and granddad, were they the ones that first started taking you West Ham?
Yeah, so that's where it boils down from. So my mum's side of the family is from Barking, but there's no real football interest on that side. But it all leads down from my granddad, and obviously it's passed down, isn't it? And once it's in the family, there's no you haven't got a choice in the matter. That's that's the team you go with.
So you say you don't remember your first game, but
Yeah, I sort of remember vaguely like being there, but I don't really remember anything about it. I mean, I must have been I'm guessing about 7 or 8 at the time.
yeah. What's so if we're gonna say take you back to the time you start going regularly, what are we looking at?
I think regularly it would have been when I started working up in London, so I was probably about 17, 18. I think it was the year before the cup final, so about 2005.
Yeah.
Was when I had my first season ticket, and I've kind of had one ever since.
So where did you sit?
So it was in the Bobby Moore lower, so it was by the corner flag on the east stand side,
All right, yeah.
probably about 10, 15 rows back, and obviously, obviously everyone knows it was good in there and the atmosphere was good, and obviously then we moved over, and well, the less said about that the better, but obviously we were told it was going to be with the people you were with, and then you go over there and all of a sudden you don't recognise anybody at all.
Yeah, funny, isn't it? Exactly what I'm.
But I mean, if you was going to, cool, 2000. So you're looking at Pardew, really?
Yeah, so it was I think it was like Marlon Harewood, Teddy Sheringham. I think the first game of the season might have been. I think we beat Villa 4-0. I think Harewood might have scored a hat trick.
Yes.
Yeah, he
I
did.
believe it was 4-1.
It was
off the top.
4-1. Yeah, it was around about then. It might have been
Yeah.
that year or the year before.
Yeah. So that would have been 2000. Yeah, it was 2005-06. Yeah, we just got promoted.
Yeah, which would have been the cup final season.
So in a way, like you get a season ticket and West Ham get to the cup final, and you're like happy days now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was quite a good season. I think we finished 9th that year. Had some good wins. Beat Spurs, obviously. The last, I think we beat. Did we? I don't know if we beat Liverpool as well that year. I'm not sure.
Was that the one we played them just before the final?
Yeah, the cup final. Yeah. Did we not beat
I
them?
think Yossi scored it, didn't he?
I feel like it might have been a draw, but I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
It was. I know that was the game that Aidan Mullins got sent off.
Oh, it was
that's
0-0,
right, yeah.
wasn't it?
Or was it? So it was a draw then. Yeah.
Yeah, we missed the final.
Yeah, which cost him to miss the final. And then, obviously, unfortunately for you, well, the next year you get the Tevez season. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that really was a roller coaster, wasn't it? I mean, if you're all but relegated, and all of a sudden you just go on this ridiculous run at the end of a season and could do it on the last day.
It's
But
the
I
same
don't-
kind of
who'd
run
have
that
seen that
Nigel
coming?
predicted this season.
Yeah, but for the Champions League.
I won't let it lie.
No, what?
Yeah, I think we was going to finish just in front of Newcastle, weren't we?
Yeah.
It would have been Brentford. I thought. But anyway, hey ho. They let me down again. Oh, excuse me. So, I mean, it then culminates in, I suppose, relegation in 2011.
Yeah, that was under.
Avram Grant.
Yeah, oh dear, that brings back nightmares, doesn't it?
Cool, does it?
But
Let's not
I'm
think that
guessing
way.
by then you've sort of you've been bitten by the bug. And
Yeah, I think it doesn't. I think once you start out, it doesn't take long to get that bug at all, does it? I think
No.
once you step foot in there, I think your destiny's done, isn't it? But yeah, it's like as you always say, it's like a drug, isn't it? And you can't get enough of it. But no matter how much it drives you mad, you just keep going back.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, Dan, do you feel that, from your point of view, because of the way you've come into it and not seen us win anything, do you think yourself, if you don't keep going, you fear that it might be the time that we start winning something?
Yeah, that is partly exactly it. You think the
'Cause-
one time you'll walk
Yeah.
away and go, oh, I've taken a break, will be the
Yeah.
time that something finally
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Just
Because we'd never had to go through that. We're not as heavily invested in that way because we started to
yeah,
watch it and then we won something, you know. And
yeah, that is definitely part of it. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
And coming back to sort of, obviously, you're looking forward to Prague, or is it just sort of force of habit that you've got to be there?
Why? I think, as you know, obviously I've only seen us in one final, not seen us win anything. The opportunity to be there, it was a
Yeah,
no-brainer to be there. But I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
I'd enjoy. It's also not the sort of game that I'll be able to enjoy. Like, you might look at
No,
it afterwards if it goes our way, and you think, like, what a day to remember type thing. But in terms of watching that game, I think it's going to be torture.
yeah, I think it will.
Do you think
It's
there's
certainly
too
with the
much
semi-final.
riding on it as a club?
I don't know. I mean, I sort of I'm so focused on just the hope that I can actually see us win something. I sort of keep overlooking the fact that obviously the bonus prize is you're in the Europa League next year as well.
Yeah,
But I think it's probably, I suppose it's more the manager and stuff. I suppose it's more what will be depending on the outcome of the final itself. I don't think it's going to be too much of a difference, sort of player wise and recruitment and stuff, that side of things, if we win or not. I don't think.
When I say too much riding on it, I mean like the weight of history on the club.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of people that almost think there's some sort of curse on this club now. Like you look back at that seconds away from that cup final, and in the amount of times that over recent years, we've had a couple of times in even just like the League Cup where you're looking at teams that are still in, the draw's starting to open up, and then we'll lose what you might class as a silly game like this year against Blackburn. I think the same night Arsenal, Tottenham, and a couple of others went out. You look at that and go, well, you don't get too many of those sort of opportunities open up for you, and when they do, you need to be in there to try and take advantage.
yeah. Especially a tournament of this stature that could have actually could have been made for us. It is for the teams at our level. I
Yeah,
say our
of course it
level
is.
because when it gets European wide at our level, we've got a distinct advantage with how much money we can spend and the type of team we can put out there. So when you get opportunities, I do think we're under pressure. We do have to take it because because of the move, and I feel like I do come back to the move, but this is the type of thing that we got to prove that we can win it. Because it's
Yeah,
all about having a winning mentality. Sure, the same's going to be for Fiorentina as well. You know, they'll fancy their chances and they'll need to feel that they should win it as well. So it's not going to be easy because it's a final. Shouldn't be easy, and the two best teams are in the final, I reckon. But do you feel confident, Dan? How are you feeling?
I can't let myself be confident. I'm sort of just trying
No,
to just trying to keep sort of calm about it, and
yeah,
what will be will be. But obviously, with history and not seeing anything, you kind of just think it would be West Ham. As I
yeah,
said before, there's always seems to be they get to that point. The point they make you believe, or you start to believe, is
yeah,
when it tends to go wrong.
yeah,
With the fact it's Fiorentina, obviously they're the hardest team we've had to face in the competition. Is it also a case of that? Do you think we're the underdog, or do you think that we should be dispatching them?
I mean, I don't know an awful lot about Fiorentina, but if you just look at the basics and what the bookies are saying, it looks to be a bit of a sort of a coin flip, really. There's not an awful lot
yeah,
between the sides.
yeah.
They
Apparently,
don't tend to get it wrong, do they, too often?
no, I see a little bit. Amos checked done a preview with an Italian guy, and they said they came at you, and I'm not necessarily sure if that's good for us or bad for us.
I'd say it's probably not good for us. We like to sit back, don't we, early
We
on,
do
and
like to sit back,
where I think
and they
if
like to
that's
press.
yeah, and if that's how they play, and then they know that's what we do as well, we're kind of inviting it on. And also, you go one down early, and you're really under pressure, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not confident
No.
lately. The closer it's getting to it, the only reason being is that I feel like there's too much confidence in the fan base. I mean,
Yeah, I
people
think we're
already
reasonably
asking me
comfortable
about
way
the
through, haven't
painting,
we?
about the victory painting. They haven't even kicked off.
Yeah, I think that's part of it because we've been quite comfortable all the way through, haven't we? I mean, I know you can only beat what
Yeah.
we've played, but we've sort of not had too much of a test really all the way through. But I think this is obviously going to be by far the hardest game. Plus, obviously the magnitude of it being the final and stuff as well.
Or when you say we've not been tested, or is it that we've actually risen to the competition? I mean, we've won 13.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit of both, really. I mean, you don't, regardless of the level of competition, you don't win 13 games by being lucky, do you?
That's what I'm saying. It's weird because a lot of fans. I don't know where you sit on the quality of the tournament. Really, a lot of fans, the word Tin Pot Cup, Mickey Mouse Cup. I mean, we all called it the Tottenham Cup last year. To be fair, the funny thing about it is that Tottenham didn't want to be involved in it, and it was quite obvious. They even quit basically rather than play the last game.
Yeah.
And I think now they've missed the boat. I was working with a Tottenham fan today, and I said to him, "Don't you worry. Thursday, if we win that cup, mate, I'll be texting you with how many days since Tottenham have last won a trophy." I said 15,000. I think it's about 7,000 days since Tottenham last won a trophy. West Ham, it's 15,000 something days since we last won a trophy. Of course, come Thursday, hopefully it'll be zero.
Let's reset
reset.
that clock.
I'm not. And yet it's funny because I'm not confident at all. And that's what I said that there's a bit of me that's. I mean, I wouldn't go out there without a ticket, and not having a passport made that easy decision to make, I suppose. So I'll watch it in Plaistow, but it'd be a long way to go, wouldn't it, really, without a ticket, watch it on the screen there and lose.
Imagine the plane coming back and you lost.
Doesn't bear thinking about, yeah.
Don't bear thinking about. And this will go out probably on the Tuesday.
Yeah, tomorrow.
And people might be listening on the plane. Way to fucking bring you down, hey? Still, if you're going to listen to us, what do you expect? I mean, I'm hardly full of the fucking joys, am I?
Well, when it's been so long, it's hard to be positive about it. It's hard to be optimistic that they're going to do it. That's the thing.
Of course it is. But, that's why we go. And until that point, the fans are great. They're the best part of this club. Their heads never drop. And yourself being one of them as well, Dan, one of them going out to Prague, all the fucking very best of you, you're going to have a great time. You all are. You're all like-minded. It's going to be great for them. And you don't need a couple of fucking old fuckers like me and Nigel bringing it down. But it's coming to it, and it's sinking in that we're in the final, and it's like, yeah, this don't feel like us. Hey, let's self-destruct, But you never know. You never know. What we'll say, right, what with Moyes is, going back to like you're saying, we win 13 games. He's very good at dispatching teams that aren't as good as us. And that's what he's done in this competition throughout, because we are better than all the teams. But he always makes that count. Credit to him for that. I think we're bang the same as Fiorentina. I think on paper we might look like we have better players, but pedigree-wise, I just think we're very similar. So I do think it will be a coin toss. But they had another final this year, and I think they had the Coppa Italia final, and I think they lost it.
Yeah,
well, I know they lost it.
They did.
So I wonder if they'll work into their advantage or their disadvantage. I never really know what to think about things like that. Let's put ourselves in their position. If we would have lost the cup final, would you be more? Because I always think of Arsenal when we beat them.
I knew you say
Yeah, because they went on the Wednesday and they had a torrid time. They managed to lose it, and they were probably the better team and lost. They were probably knackered from the semi-finals in the cup final, which is why they didn't turn up for that. Because they didn't. trouble us at all. And I was trying to think, in their position, Fiorentina, would they be biting at it thinking, right, we can't let this opportunity go, or will they be tired as well?
Well, it's pressure, really, isn't it? It
Yeah.
depends because they could be looking at it thinking, we've got the two finals, we can't lose them both,
Yeah,
and that could cramp them up.
yeah,
So this is where actually the managers like Mourinho and Fergie would come into their element with the mind games,
yeah.
and putting it on them, and trying to relax the players.
Yeah.
I don't really get that from Moyes though, do we? Where do you sit with Moyes, Dan?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, how do you sort of, if they were to win it, how do you win a trophy for the first time in over 40 years and say to a manager, thanks for that, but see you later? But then at the same time, if you want to sort of take that step forward, you need to be a bit more ruthless and sort of confident in your decisions and go for it. But certainly has obviously.
You think he's too cautious, Moyes?
At times, I think there are, it's like with the Suchek thing. There's times when it suits the game, and there's other times it doesn't. I think it's more just a case of we sort of can't really, predominantly just a one-trick pony, aren't we? We sort of, if you're the opposing team, you sort of know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
We are.
And I think that's the biggest problem, isn't it? Is we sort of can't really mix it up if it's not working.
So you're David Sullivan. Moyes has just put a trophy on the table and gone, there you go, Mr. Chairman. What are you doing?
I think long term, I think you've got to start. I think he's got to be probably going to have to be ruthless and say, "Cheers, David. See you later." But we need to find someone. And what do you do after that? Do we find someone that's going to be similar in terms of we can use the players that we've got, or are we going to sort of possibly go down with a bit of short to long term pain while we get someone in that needs a bit of time to get the players they want, but to play hopefully better football and pull us up the table?
Are you going to spend a deck of money?
Well, I don't trust Sullivan to get a decent price either. Do you?
Yeah, it is a too bullety question, isn't it?
I mean, would it then be wise? Well, and the problem is we're second guessing David Sullivan here when actually we all know how he really thinks and whatever. In that, to let Moyes see out his contract and then use that season to plan for the future without him.
Yeah, I think if you're going to let Moyes spend that kind of dough we're going to get for Rice and whatever else there may be, I think you've got to either make the decision of you're going to stand by him or you're going to then have to start lining up the next manager that's going to be able to work with the players he's got, because you can't just let him spend, I don't know, 100, 150 million on his sorts of players and then go for a complete different type of manager and then we're sort of back where we started.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's when it all boils down to whether, there's been stories out that we're getting in a new director of football, that whether that would be the start of the change. And
I suppose if you look at, he's almost certain Rice is going to go, and that money coming in, you kind of think this is surely the ideal time to make that complete change all the way through.
Yeah.
It feels like the right time. You say you can have all that money to spend as well. You're going to give that to a new manager that's going to be given some time. It just feels like this is the moment where he's got Sullivan, I suppose, to a point, is going to fall on his sword or not.
So you would pull the trigger then?
I think so. I think long term, I think it's the right thing to do. But who you go and get, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, who would you want?
For years, I've long said that the club needs to change from top to bottom in the way that they run, and the model is more continental. So if we follow the continental model of teaching the kids a certain style of football, and you make sure you play that way, so the coaches can step up. So I would be looking for a continental manager. I don't know about you, Len.
You got
Yeah,
any names?
Well, funny enough, the one is Edin Terzic. I think what he's to go in at Dortmund the way he did, and to it was so West Ham-esque actually to have the chance to win the title. All they had to do was win their game, and they blew it. And they had an easy team to play, Mainz, a team they should have dispatched at home, and they drew 2-2, and they only got their equaliser with the last kick of the game. And unluckily for them, with about 4 minutes to go, Bayern got a winner away at Cologne. But Terzic there, I think he showed to get Dortmund that close, and he's got West Ham connection as well.
Yeah, wasn't he the one that was right under our nose with Bilic?
Yes.
Yeah.
After all that.
In fact, I couldn't name you another. I couldn't name you another manager now, other than the ones I've already managed at the Premier League level. I still think Hasselhüttl had something to offer. Really.
What do you think?
I just think for us, But what I would say is, I think we need a structure put in. I would go as far as say, although I don't know not a lot about directors of football and that, I think we need someone at that level, and then under that level we have sort of the coaches to do it, to sort of take the emphasis off the buying. That worries me. This is a critical time. If we do spend the Declan Rice money, that needs to be spent wisely. And it's a type of buyer. I feel two ways about this, right? I'm not sure I trust Moyes to buy the right player around the £30 million mark. Let's say it's three £30 million players, depending on how the transfer goes. It could be a cash player, so it could come to 240s or whatever. Around that £30 million mark, I worry at that price, because when you look at, you could have someone, let's say the £25 million mark, you could have someone like Bowen, who only costs 20 million, that works out really well, or someone like Ben Rama, who, although he's a good player, kind of doesn't work out well, really, for that kind of money. I don't understand why 25 million doesn't get you the perfect article, and that's what I think you get with Ben Rama. You get a lot of good attributes, but a lot of attributes that just aren't there. You could say the same about Fornals too. Well, not just for the Ben Ramas lovers out there. It's not just him. That type player, you don't get a lot for 25 million. I think that is now the £30 million mark, right? Especially when people know you've got money, that makes it £30 million mark. I'm not convinced. On one hand, I'm not convinced that Moyes has, but then I remember back to Lou Macari and no one liked his style of football, who, in hindsight, some really good players. So there's a hope there that he could sign the right players if he carries on, but there's a worry there that he won't, and I think that is what I'm also worried about, is that he doesn't push the youth players through. So this is why I think there should be someone above him making the transfers and looking at the youth system, just having a better overview of the players to come in, be it expensive, cheap, youth, whatever. Just take it out of the manager's hands, because I think there's a lot of pressure for Moyes, because he does buy a certain type of player.
Yeah, I'm not adverse to the Mark Noble.
I'd like that. In
theory, yeah. For me though, he's got to work his way up, and in a way, while I think Moyes sort of, I'm not belittled him, but it's like he said, he's doing his
Yeah, he
apprenticeship.
did.
But
He
he's
did
right. But he's right when you say
he's right, but he's asked the question and he gives you the answer. I think a lot of the time he's got to think of this. This is something else that he can be criticised at, Moyes, because he could come up with better answers to the question he's asked, and that does affect morale, etc. The choices he makes with picking teams that affects values, player values, and
I think he's I think
Yeah.
his press conferences are terrible for a man that's supposed to love Fergie and Mourinho.
yeah,
As his top two, the one thing he never learnt was how to handle a press
nah,
conference.
seems defensive.
Yeah, noble Dan.
Yeah, well, I sort of agree with you, Nigel. Really, I think you can't just walk. I know he's obviously a West Ham all through, but you can't just walk into the job. He's got to start somewhere and build himself up to it. Because how's he going to? He's got no experience in the role, and this is obviously, as we've been saying, this is the real key time in terms of the money we're going to have to spend and a bit of an overhaul. We really need experienced people in there, and someone he can probably sit alongside and learn from.
Yeah,
I find somewhat though. I do think he'd be a good judge of player because he's worked under so many managers there. I think that could help him. I think he'd be a good judge, but I don't know they won't give him the role of signing the players or whatever. But I think maybe they fucking well should. He can't. Being an ex-footballer and being a fan of a club around you, and now things haven't worked out. I think he'll be in a good position to be thrown above, to have responsibility, because I just think he's going to try and do the right thing. There'll be no agenda for him to sort of. He can't go out to try and prove himself at a role because people don't expect anything from him, and quite rightly because he's never done it. So it could kind of work both ways. I don't know. Maybe
I suppose there is always an
far
element of at some point you do have to take a bit of a gamble somewhere.
You do, yeah. The biggest gamble you could take is not taking the gamble at all.
Well, exactly. So I think the ideal is get someone you can sit alongside, and over time gradually hand it over.
I think the one that it intrigues me. I think is that Paul Smith. Is it the Monaco one? I don't know. Paul Mitchell. That's it. I think
he's English.
Yeah, no, that's when you look at his background and he's been around the clubs. He's sort of done his apprenticeship as such.
I wonder if these directors of football, I wonder if they're ambitious. I wonder if they want to move up clubs. I don't know nothing about the role. Do you know what I mean? I don't really understand it. I think Moyes. I would have said that this was something that Moyes should have sort of been thinking about doing. I don't know. He might not want to do it, but I would have thought someone of that stature would have been a good one. But obviously, I don't understand the role because
I think years ago, manager, Greenwood. Greenwood had the foresight to step back and allow Lyle step forward, while people may not realise. Greenwood was there for 3 years as club manager, as the manager of West Ham United, while Lyle was the first team manager. So and Greenwood had his hands on a lot of the players that was signed, allowing Lyle to coach them. And I think managers don't want to let go now, do they?
No.
Of the power.
No.
It's more of an old-fashioned role now, isn't it? That as well, to be the manager and have control of everything.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen anymore, does it?
But Moyes is an old. In a way, I get it. Where he's not a modern day manager. I mean, he's roughly the same age. He might be younger than Mourinho. I think Mourinho, with his continent, has got a different outlook, and the way that he does it. Though the funny thing about it, I do think though, if you're going to sack him, if the manager's going to get sacked, then I can see why they say I want to buy the players I want. Because if I'm going to be sacked, I want it for my players, not for the players that someone's put on me. Right.
Do you even think he's thinking, Sullivan's thinking, if I'm going to pull the plug, who's around? Who do we want? Do you know what I mean? I can't imagine. I can imagine he's more. He'll do it and then go, right. What do we do now? Like, there's never any sort of planning, is there? It always feels like everything's reactive.
Sullivan's thinking will be, I've had a look. There's no one.
Yeah, wouldn't looked hard.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we've got evidence of that.
What would be, wouldn't it? We have to sort of just, we might feel different next week.
I mean, realistically, Dan, Noble for you is almost is he like Billy Bonds-esque to us? Is he like the ultimate West Ham player for you?
Well, I suppose for my generation, he will be, because obviously he's all we'd ever known. And obviously, when that first game of the season, and he's nowhere to be seen, it was quite a strange one, really, wasn't it? Because obviously, again, like you say about Billy Bonds, he's all you've ever known. He was always Mr. West Ham. He was always in the team. When you think how many managers he survived over that period as well, and to do it all, obviously, to stay with one club as well, nowadays is almost. Well, it is rare, but it's almost like you don't see anyone else doing that.
Was you one of these Noble? I could say it's really terrible now. Fanboys.
No, I wouldn't say so. I do think in general he was did get a lot of probably unfair stick, but I wouldn't class myself as a fanboy. That's for sure.
Who is your favourite player, then?
What I've seen or now?
Well, who's your favourite player now, and historically, who's been your favourite?
I think historically, I've always sort of liked a player that's sort of gets you on the edge of your seat. So like a Berkovic, a Ben Ayoun, someone who can do something when they're on the ball, rather than it's all sort of safe, all sort of safe and sideways, and someone that's going to try and have a go at people.
Yeah, got no one in the team like that now, have we?
No, not Bowen on
Benny's
flashes,
nearly there.
but
yeah.
Ben Bowen's a bit of the nearly man, isn't he?
This is it. I think if you got no final ball, it kind of takes away everything you've done. It doesn't.
It's just literally decision making.
Yeah.
The amount of times he'll pick the wrong pass, or he'll shoot when there's a better pass on, but then that's the difference between, I suppose, a £20 million player and a 30-40 million
£50 million player.
Well,
I think you can name your price when you got a player like that. If he hasn't like that, then you've got someone. I don't know say it, but I don't know say I'm wasting money, but I can't think of any other polite way to say it, because it is, and it's not his fault because he doesn't put the price in his head. I don't think Moyes will start him on Tuesday.
No,
I think he'll go with Fornals now.
Yeah, I think he'll be slightly more cautious.
Yeah, I think he'll be
on that side.
Might be an impact sub, and I don't think he'll let him play.
No, I agree. I think that's exactly what he'll do.
He's out of form at the minute. He is out of form at the minute.
No, but you'd want him on the pitch for penalties.
Yeah, No, he'll come on. No, he'll come on. I mean, if there's a place for him.
No, you think Moyes? He's lucky to get 60 minutes when he plays for Moyes. So he ain't going to get 120, is he?
No.
So I'd rather he came on halfway through the second half.
Yeah.
And finished the game.
I've got this funny feeling that Soucek's going to score.
Well, I didn't realise that that's his old stadium, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, we hope so. Dan, obviously, you turn up in 2006. 9 years later, we have to leave. You would have been quite young when the movies mooted. Where did you sit on that fence? And you could talk us through, I suppose, how you feel now in regards to move.
Yeah, I think I'll openly admit when it first come out, and you sort of look at it and like I say, what we was sold in terms of how it was going to look and stuff like that, and you thought, well, if we're going to kick on, then this is probably the right decision to make. And obviously, when the time come, obviously you sort of actually you sort of rethinking your choice when the day comes and think, oh, I don't think I want to leave. I don't want to leave here. And obviously when we get there, and it's just not was what it said in the tin, was it? There was
No.
nothing about it was what we were sold. I mean, I didn't understand the biggest thing that frustrated me was the migration of the seat. So I sort of took it as were you going to stay with the fans you were. So say the bottom or lower seat, it was 10 rows higher and 20 seats wider. I expected everyone, assuming they wanted to stay where they were, would sort of be plonked from the middle across, and then obviously whatever extra seating in there, they'll fill that with what they called the founders or people that wanted to move seats, but the core would stay around the people it was with. And it's just, I mean, I had a conversation with my dad. I don't know if it was the Newcastle game, walking back, and so I've been saying for ages, I can't. You go because it's your team and nothing's going to stop you going, but you don't get excited about going to the ground. And
No.
the only thing we come up with that was actually better than going to Upton Park was the walk to the station rather than going around to East Ham up the high street like you used to. It's a nicer walk. That was the only thing we could come up with that we actually thought was better.
I'm not sure.
Which
That
says it
is,
all,
but-
really.
Yeah, I've done. Yeah,
And that's the walk that's the walk to West Ham to down the Greenway,
yeah.
not through the stop and go signs.
All right. So you walked to West Ham Station along the Greenway.
Yeah, and that was the only thing we could come up with we
Surbank.
actually thought was better than what we had.
So walking along the Surbank, as we like to call it, is better than walking along the Barking Road. I can sort of understand.
Like when you walk up to East Ham and along that high street,
Yeah.
that was the only positive we could come up with about the whole place. There's just nothing there that you go, oh, I like that, or that's better for me. For me, there's nothing there that I can say about the experience that I like. But as you always say, it's your team, it's your drug. You're never going to stop going, and you're not going to let anything stop you going. But it does when times are hard. There are times when you think, "Oh, if I really got to go up there," just because it's like they say the experience from the moment you arrive there, and then you've got to get in the queues for the searches, and then you've got to go on the turnstiles half the time they don't work.
Do you still go? What, do you go with your dad?
Yeah. So there's a few of us scattered around, but it's me and my dad got season tickets in the bottom or lower still.
So these
You're up
people
on the top, aren't you?
you going with tomorrow, do you go to the football with them as well?
Yeah. So they're in the same stand. They're just further down the left hand side. I think they're like the last. Is it the first 10 where they're slightly cheaper, aren't they? So I think they're in like that 10th row
Yeah.
down the
With
front.
crossbars in the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So there's 7 of us going out there. But I mean, what do you? I mean, I know you don't like it, Len, do you? Because you've given it out, or have you given it out?
Well,
You going one more year?
I'll tell you what's happened. I've yeah, isn't exclusive.
Or are you going to wait and see if we win it, and then you're going to renew it?
No, I've renewed. Believe it
you
or not,
have?
I'm the first one of us to renew, based on the fact that I'm just having a complete reset. I'm just doing a completely new experience. I went with Nigel into his seat a few weeks back, and firstly, it was a kind of a shock that I could see like where I used to live from the stand, which was like mind blowing. And I was thinking, so if I was a kid, as an 8-year-old, I would have loved that West Ham was like down the end of my road virtually. So I'm just trying a completely new experience, and up in there with the cheap seats, with no shoe seats, I actually enjoyed it. I will give him credit for that. I thought it was a better experience, and I thought like, listen, let me tell you what I've got against the experience I got last season, or up until this point. I just think they'd sold it. It was completely gone. I couldn't get a like for like experience. Wasn't enjoying it. If you're not getting a like for like experience, you're not going to like it more than Upton Park, because that's the only experience you've known. It was a good experience. But I'm going for an all-round reset. I accept it's a different club now. So I'm going to come in from a different direction. So I'm going to come in from Hackney, from where we used to live as a kid, for a short time. Try that, because look, I can't. I could give up going to football. I actually could give it up, because I think it's a TV sport as well. But I can't give up going out with my mates. And the older you get, the less chance you have of doing it. I mean, I went out and played golf with my mates now. We played an £150 course that it wasn't worth £150, but fucking hell, I want to go out with my mates. You know, it's these are the things you do at times to sort of keep in touch with people. And likewise, we're going to West Ham, that I just got to try something new, because it is something new. And by Wednesday, if we win the cup, it's going to be new again. If we win the cup, I will be some kind of has-been fan, because it will be a new brigade that will come in, like yourself, that would have seen, and younger than you, by the way, and Dolly Birds, that would see a new West Ham, and they will have tangible proof of it, tangible evidence that the club has changed. They've won a new competition. They all went out there and they loved it. They'll have a lot of these people not only have not gone to Upton Park, but will enjoy going to the London Stadium, because they're going there and seeing their team, be it a new club. You know, not everyone thinks the same way as me, and that's okay. I drastically miss what I used to have, and not just footballing wise, just general East End as well. But you know, I'm going to give it a chance. This new way of doing it. I ain't got a lot to lose, so I'm going to give it a go and see how it is. That's what it is. If I don't like that, which I can't see, because I like spending time with Nigel, it was good to go down and watch the football with him. If I don't enjoy it, then the only thing to do is stop going. But I must say that if you are going through Stratford to the Billy Bonds side and watching the game, and you did go to Park, I mean, you've been sold down the river. It's a bad experience, but there's no point keeping on moaning, is there? Even me.
Well, no.
Even
Well, no,
me.
we've got what we've got, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
See how
say,
it
it won't
goes.
stop me going, but it doesn't mean I'm going to like
Not going to
it.
be happy, no.
No.
Nothing gives you that right, Dan.
But going
Nothing.
back to the competition, I mean, I had someone at work the other day, and he was trying to Arsenal fan, and he was belittling the competition and stuff like that. But my argument was, well, this competition was designed for clubs of our kind
Clubs
of level,
like us, yeah.
and unless we get one of the richest men on the planet take us over, we're never
Well,
going to
still might
see.
not be enough, because everyone else has got one of them as well.
Well, yeah, so it's almost, unless a Leicester happens, we're not going to see Champions League. So my argument was, well, for us, we win this and go into the Europa League. That is like our Champions League.
Yeah.
Because that's as high as we realistically are going to go.
Well, we're a club whose fan base wants to, one, the fan base wants to go to the football and go and see the game, and two, wants us to win a trophy, be it any trophy.
What do I
Now-
see? I mean, I want to see us win something. I don't want
Yeah.
to sit back in 30 years' time and go, I watched West Ham 24 consecutive seasons in the Premier League. We're finishing between 8th and 15th. I mean, who cares
Yeah.
about that? You want to see?
No one,
say
but
I was
look,
there when we
the-
won
that's-
this, or
That is most of the football teams, isn't it? When you think about it. The good thing about it now is throughout the leagues, if you move to the Championship down ones, the playoffs give you hope, and that's a good thing if you're a football fan. I mean, when you see your team win a cup, you're not too enthralled of going to playoffs, because you see it as some kind of form of failure. But you could see this Wednesday as a playoff final to get into a new European league, the Europa League. Obviously not a brand new league, but you know, it's a league that we should aspire to, and not take it in the same way as Tottenham, who thought it was a nuisance to play Thursday, Sunday. Although we can kind of get what they mean now, we experience that and know that it's not ideal. We are a team that wants to move in that in the league, both historically and in modern times, in modern football times, because we want to win it. We
I mean,
don't.
would you say now, if you look at the sort of calibre of team that's in this, is this probably, although we got more games, would you say this is arguably easier to win than, say, the FA Cup?
Well, the funny thing about it is, no, I don't think it. I think it. Yes, I think it is easier to win, and I would also say that about the Europa League. It was easier to win. Now we got to the final of this cup. I don't feel it's any easier to win than when we was at the semi-final stage of the Europa League. I thought we could have won that, the Europa League last year. And
When you
it
look at the
really
teams
hurts
that were
because
in the later stages of that this year, you look back at that and think that really was an opportunity. That was even
that
more of an
really was,
opportunity
yeah.
than it was.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Frankfurt, we weren't too far behind Frankfurt there. So, and it was weird because last season, I think I worked out that we'd beat 6 teams that played in last year's Champions League, including the Premier. So if you looked at that, we'd beat Man United last season. Did we beat Man United last season? I don't think we did. We beat Chelsea. We beat Liverpool last season. The Croatian team we beat. Ajax Split, was it? No, it wasn't Ajax Split, was it? Who did we beat?
Zagreb.
Dinamo Zagreb. They'd played Champions League. I think Austria, Vienna had played Champions League football as well. In fact, Vienna played Champions League football, Europa League football, and Europa Conference League football last season. So, I mean, obviously, I'm countering that to saying they were in the qualifying rounds of it, but they were still in the Champions League tournament. So, if we could beat those teams last season, then there was nothing realistically there this season for us to be to why we couldn't get to the final and win it. I think this is the easiest cup. If you look at, we were entered into 4 competitions: this League Cup, FA Cup, and the Premier League. This is the easiest one for West Ham to win. And the reason I say that is because we ain't got to face Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, Newcastle. We ain't got to play them in this league. No. So
it's
naturally,
definitely the easiest one.
It makes it easier.
We should kind of, in
don't
a way,
mean it's easy to win. There's a difference between what is the easiest to win and what is easy to win. It ain't easy to win.
No, it's definitely it's the easier one to win,
yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, in regards, does your granddad still go, or is he?
No, he's in his 90s now, so he'll watch it. Like if one of us is around, sometimes we'll go over and watch it with him or bring him over. But yeah, so like I say, that was why it was not funny for them in the semi-final second leg, because I'm sitting there really getting stressed and anxious over it. Obviously, the later it went on, didn't it? You just thought the West Ham that we all know or I've only ever known, is going to crumble here. You just knew it's kind of ending in disaster. And afterwards, I sort of saying, well, for them, they've experienced it, they've seen it. All right, it was 40 odd years ago, but they've seen us do something. Where for us, as I was looking at it, this could be. We've had 2 finals in 40 odd years. I mean, if I'm lucky, there may well be one more in my lifetime. If you sort of look at it like that, so this is why this is so important, not only just for the club, but like for me to actually experience us winning something. This could be it. This could be that could be that one opportunity to see it happen.
Yeah. I mean, you would like to think that by winning it, that the players then could go on and think, right, this is it. We could get something else. We could go win the League Cup. It's difficult. When you look at the likes of, if you look back, who's won the FA Cup and who's won the League Cup in the last 10 years, there's not many teams from outside the predominant 6 now that have done it.
No, this is where you need that winner's mentality through the club, and then obviously winning breeds that mentality. So if you can, like I say, if we can pick this up, there's no reason why we don't go into next year. And those players that are still there going, well, we've done it once, we can do it again.
And on art, you got to say a yes or no. Do you think we will do it?
No.
No. Okay.
And I think it'll be at least extra time as well. I think we're going to go the distance. I don't think we're going to probably suffer the agony of the extra time and or penalties as well. I think.
Nigel, what do you think? Yes or no?
No, I don't. Do you know the thing? It's a weird thing. Moyes has lost a quarter final, and then he's lost a semi-final, and now he's got to a final. And I think, well, actually, does that mean he's got to lose the final before?
Yeah.
Like in
It's
Europe.
a full ass, I'm afraid.
Yes.
I just think we
there
lost
are
too many
different
games this
managers we can
season. We've lost too many games for me to think that we can turn up against a team like Fiorentina and win, even on a level playing field. I just don't feel it. We could
Do you
be
think with
wrong.
a- do you
Wouldn't
think
it be a
with
great
maybe
way
more,
to be wrong?
Do you think maybe a more positive manager you would think differently?
Maybe, or maybe he might have the tactic. It might be playing our hands that we play the same way that we don't like that might work. But it just comes down to the sheer number of results that we got, and we've lost too many games. For me to feel positive about a team that's lost 21 games this season, you cannot put a team at the same level as you, and we lost 21 games against teams in our league. I can't be positive about that. I hope I'm wrong. God, blimey, I hope I'm wrong. And all it is it's a game of pot luck, and it's a chance we'll happily take, be it extra time or penalties if necessary, and hope we are wrong. But the fact of the matter is, I can't be positive about a team that's lost so many games this season.
But
Can't.
I will. I'm doing this just to counter that, just so it's not is that we've only lost to English teams this
Yeah,
season.
that's true.
Yeah. Johnny Foreigner ain't beat us.
No,
I'll take
that's
any
true.
positive I can find between now and then.
So when you look at it, and there's a bit of me that thinks, well, perhaps I don't know. I think Anderlecht weren't weren't that bad a side. I thought there was some great results there. And two wins to win. I don't know. It's just I think even the game we drew, were we not winning 2-0? And it was away, wasn't it? When it again that we drew 2-2 with, I thought we was winning 2-0, and they pegged it back to 2-2. But I don't know. Maybe my mind's playing tricks on me. But I've just thought, well, there is that the fact that we've not lost at all in Europe, when there's been a few games where we've probably been West Ham fans thought, I can't see us getting anything out of here.
I just can't bring myself to be positive into believing it's going to happen. I've got to play it down. I can't. I just can't give yourself that. I just can't give myself that hope.
No.
I mean, another mad thing is we've just watched Sevilla, roughly the same Sevilla that we beat, win the UEFA Cup.
Yeah.
When if you look at the semi-finals or even the quarter-finals, a lot of the teams in there would come from the Champions League, Juve, Man United, I think Arsenal. And you look at it and you think there was a great thing that was stat about Sevilla is that I think only once in the past 6 or 7 years have they failed to get to the quarter-finals, and that was the year that they met us. So if you look, and then once we beat Sevilla last season, we had Lyon, and we actually went away and won the game in Lyon rather than at Upton Park then, rather than at Stratford. So the mad thing about it is that everything about Europe, we're all sitting here going, can't see us doing it is Fiorentina, and I think that's the West Ham in us.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that
Definitely
is
is.
the West Ham in us because I think you know all the you know the non-West Ham fans that I know that I talk to that know a bit about it, that go and watch football, think I'm off my head that I can't see us doing it.
We shall see on Wednesday night.
Right, Dan, we'll finish up. I don't think you are. Did you answer who's your all-time favourite player?
Oh, I don't think I did. I think I find it hard to pick a single player out. I know that's a bit of a cop-out answer, but I'm really struggling to think of.
I mean, could you pick a
one.
team off the top of your head? If you're saying right, all the players you've seen play, play for West Ham, 2006. Who's your goalkeeper? Blimey.
So I suppose in goal you probably that's a difficult one because you've got really I suppose it's unless I'm missing someone it's got to be out of Rob Green and probably Fabianski, hasn't it? I'm trying to think if I've missed anyone.
No,
Jessica Lyman wasn't.
Yeah,
wasn't. I didn't think was that all that.
Son of Sam.
Yeah, you're automatically going to throw that one out, aren't you?
yeah.
I'll say Rob. I think you go Rob Green. I think you got to go Rob Green.
Rob Green. There you go. Okay, it's your team. Rob Green's in goal. So who are you having at the back?
At the back. Then you put me on the spot now. All of a sudden, I can't remember any players.
You got the likes of when you started going, it would have been Anton.
I think you've got to have Collins in there.
James Collins, yeah.
Collins.
So we'll have Collins. You got the likes of Upson, Lucas Neal. Trying to think going forward.
Fucking don't sound great.
I'm trying to think that far back, and then trying to work my way, trying to think through.
I mean, things are looking better now than some of these. You know, I think Ogbonna's a better 7.5 than all of them you've mentioned.
Yeah.
You think his longevity for us as well. He wasn't even that expensive, was he? I don't think when we bought him. He was one of.
Well, he came out of Juve's reserves, didn't he?
Yeah. That was under Bilic, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. 2015. Yeah, the longest serving is Criswell, so he's 2014. Criswell joined us.
That was Allardyce, wasn't it? I think Criswell.
Yeah.
Are you gonna let him take the credit for that one, or?
I think Allardyce bought him, but we made him better, didn't we? Really, Bilic.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, we'll have Collins and Ogbonna at the back. I think you've sold me on that one.
You going for Criswell, left back?
Well, gonna have to be really. You put you on the spot, and you've had no decent left backs.
Well, you're not going to go Paul Konchesky, are you?
Well, it's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, I don't think
we've done this the other day, didn't we? We couldn't think of left backs.
I think he predominantly played in the wing, but you had sort of Matty Taylor fielding on it, didn't he, under Allardyce? I think at left back, and he wasn't. I think you have to go Criswell there. I think we've never been, for as long as I can remember, we've never been blessed with great fullbacks, have we?
Well, we saw some good
recent years.
Julian Dixon's a good fullback.
Yeah. In my sort of, if you look at
not in yours.
Since my season ticket time, like the last sort of 15 to 20, we've not been blessed, have we? It's always been a position where we've always filled it with the cheap option or a freebie somewhere.
We ain't took it seriously, have we? Actually, it does seem a more important position that we're led to believe. We've had our best players at fullbacks in the past.
Yeah, we've never really gone out and gone, right, let's stick the money down and pick a fullback out. They've always been cheap buyers or loans or just sort of, they've always been sort of short term. Because even at right back, you sort of, apart from.
We don't even know who's going to be the right back on fucking Wednesday.
Who would you have in there?
Kufau for me.
I think you have to be Kufau. Being it's in Prague, you couldn't make me a manager, could you? Just because of where it is. I'll play him. Like, he knows the way.
Yeah, but it'd be like an home game for him, wouldn't it? You'd
He
think.
would. I mean, the magic happened, can't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
And he needs it at times. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's been since he had that, was it his heel injury or was it when since he's come back, he has been sort of a bit more towards what we got when he first came in.
My expectations are never that high of him.
No, that's probably got a price tag, right?
Yeah.
Who are you putting in the middle?
Middle of midfield. See, you look at.
You got the likes of Rio Coca.
I mean, even you look at when you had Alex Song in there, didn't we? Briefly,
Alex
but that
Song.
was only a.
Yeah, he was good.
He was brilliant for us, but then how do you sort of?
Do you know,
quantify
I'm
it?
realising
Season, wasn't he?
I'm realising, Dan, talking to you now, that I don't think that you can afford to look back as far as people like me and Nigel. You're going back, and your players are getting worse.
Well, that's what I mean. You're sort of looking, you think you're really struggling to pick
Yeah.
out.
And we got a cup final.
In there.
We got a cup final Wednesday, and I'd say at least 4 or 5 of them are contenders for your best in position ever.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm trying to not go.
Would you go Noble?
Too current, but
would you put Noble in your all time?
I think you've got to put him in there. I think you've got to put him in there for his obviously his captain abilities as well.
Yeah.
And I think you need someone in there.
So next to Noble, I think there's only one man myself. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that you've got to put Rice has got to go in there. It depends whether you're going to go with a 3 or you're going 4-4-2. Like, where you going?
Well,
I'll just get it over with, Dan. If I were you, it's not. I mean, it's not. God, it's a tough question to answer.
So,
You've seen some shit,
yeah.
ain't you?
Well, that's what I mean. You look back and you think there's really not been much.
No.
Like you say, for you to reel off a team is easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you put Payet?
Where'd you put him? I suppose you've got to put him on that sort of left hand side, haven't you? And let him just do what he does and do what he was good at for us. When he was kind of everywhere, wasn't he? Really.
I mean, with the ball, I would have thought he would have been your Di Canio with the ball, i.e. that Di Canio for me, he's not my all-time greatest hammer. He is a god though, and he is the player for me that I call him the most skillful player I've ever seen play in a West Ham shirt, because he did things with the ball that I don't think only Payet's come close to.
I always remember that Di Canio goal. Was it the home to Arsenal when he sort of flicked it over Keogh?
Yes.
And then put it in the top
2-1
corner.
win. Yeah.
And it just makes it look so effortless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, obviously the famous one of all, when it was the Wimbledon goal as well.
Yeah, the Wimbledon. I mean, I think one of his passes he did. I don't know if there's a film of it. Funny enough, is that he used to love playing the ball down the line. So he'd have Sinclair run behind him, and he did this sort of reverse sweep round the back of his standing leg and flick the ball down the line. And he's got a defender shadowing him, trying to stop him. And as Sinclair goes past him, he just literally pulls the ball back, and he's on the touchline, and scoops it round his standing leg and flicks it down the line for Sinclair to run onto and cross the ball into the box. And it was just like, wow.
It's just effortless, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they're just on a completely different wavelength to everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you see it sometimes with players where they play a ball and you sort of think no one's read it, no one's read that pass because they're just not on that wavelength at all. They're just too good for where they are.
So,
yeah,
I mean, you're struggling. Oh, this is mad, isn't it?
Okay.
So who you putting on the right? So on strike, yeah. Let's
go on.
I mean, strikers. I mean, where'd you go? I mean, you can reel off a list of.
So you turn up, Dane Ashton gets injured.
That was the one, wasn't it? That would have been surely he would have been the one.
Craig Bellamy.
I mean, you've had the likes of Harewood, Colton Cole. Who else have we had? We've had Andy Carroll.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, I mean, under Golden Sullivan, we've got 52 to choose from, and if you put one of them in, I don't know. Arnautovic, Antonio. Would you put Antonio wide right?
I think I think when you think when he was with us, the amount of goals he used to get coming in on that right hand side,
Yeah.
coming in on that back post, he was so good at that, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think people forget. I don't know if it was Bilic played him up front when we first moved into the stadium. I don't know if it was Bilic or I think it was Bilic played him up front for a while and he didn't score. And he put him back wide right and he scored in his first game back wide right. And you're thinking, well, he scored all his goal wide right. That's where he needs to be.
So I think he scored. Didn't he score the goal in the first game there, the
Yeah,
Bournemouth game? I think
Bournemouth.
we
He
won
got the
1-0,
header at
didn't
the
we?
back post. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's another one. You look at that sort of time, like the rubbish we had, like Gokhan Toure and
Yeah.
Zaza, and you think, oh, there's really not much to pick from. But you're thinking about what you've got realistically. You're thinking there's got to be a better option. But you're looking and think there just isn't, is there? There's just nothing.
No.
You're really sort of struggling from.
No,
You've got to get. I think you've got to get. I know you've got Payet in there. I think you've got to get Ben Ayoun in there. I think.
Right. So I'll tell you what you could do. You could play Payet up front?
No, I don't think you could you?
No. Right.
I think you probably.
So you're playing a 5-man midfield. So you got Noble in the middle with Rice. You like Moyes? My God, you got Noble and
Rubbed
Rice.
off on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine Moyes?
You're playing Antonio up front.
Yeah. So he's put Antonio wide right. Yeah.
Well, not if you put him down the middle and you put Ben Ayoun on the other side.
Oh yeah, you got Ben Ayoun. Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine David Moyes having the likes of Ben Ayoun and Payet? He'd turn them into 11 playing in central midfield, holding midfield.
Thankfully, we'll never see that.
Yeah.
Imagine having Brooklyn and Devonshire. Fucking hell.
Makes me realise what I've seen to what you
and
guys
this
have
is why
seen.
we wanted to talk to someone that's not.
Yeah, we've actually learned a lot.
It's because now
we've learned how bad you've had it.
This is where I get so. You have seen, off the top of my head, you've seen 10 managers off the top of my head. So you turn up with Redknapp as manager briefly, and then you go. Then you start going with Pardew. So your first games as a little kid of Redknapp, and you really start going with Pardew. You got Curbs, you got Zola, you got Avram, you got Sam, you got Moyes, you got Bilic, you got Pellegrini. You got to pick a manager, Dan.
How far back can I go on a manager? Are we going Pardew or can I go further back?
If you go further back, you got to explain why.
I think I'd have to go further back, and I think it'd have to be Redknapp. I think the football. We used to, from a kid, the amount of times we'd have a. Not only we used to. All right, we wasn't always getting the results, but we were good to watch. I mean, I lost count the amount of times I remember as a kid. You see, we'd play the likes of Tottenham or Chelsea, and it'd be like a 4-3 or a 3-2. Like, there'd be a lot of, as you say, goals of fun, right?
Yeah.
We were good to watch. From what I can remember, that was some of the best football we've played, probably.
Yeah, listen, I love the Redknapp era. I think it's probably my most second favourite era of watching West Ham. I think without Redknapp, I think any other managers don't get the Canio.
I mean, another way to look at it now is you look at the era of your team. How many from say Pardew onwards? How many of those would you put in yours? Probably bar Rice, if Rice at all. Probably one.
Well, Fabianski will sit on the bench.
You're going to go.
But,
not on the bench. You're 11.
My 11. Obviously Parks is in goal for me. Ray Stewart, Julian Dix.
From that Pardew era onwards, can you get any of those in there?
From the Pardew era onwards.
Can you get any of those in?
Blimey. I mean, fun enough, I did Di Canio. Well, no, he's not Pardew era, is he? Neither's Benny Yoon. Or Benny Yoon? No, because in front of Benny Yoon would be Berkovic, to be fair.
Yeah.
I thought Berkovic was the better out of the two. It's both special.
Very similar.
Pardew era, could anyone make it? Unfortunately, Ashton didn't have long enough.
No.
No.
Well, that's what I mean. So you think what it's like for me.
Yeah,
If you can't get any of those in, and I'm trying to pick the best out of
yeah,
that.
yeah. No, you're right. No one. But then again, sometimes I think that you fall in love with football as a kid. And when you fall in love with football as a kid, you got no real understanding of losing or relegation, or what it really means. We got relegated. I've said it before. We got relegated. Well, me and Len, 1978. I bet I could say I didn't understand what he meant.
No, me neither.
I didn't. We got beat by Liverpool 2-0. 3 months later, so that was the April. 3 months later, we're beating Notts County 5-2. I didn't know Notts County, who they were. I didn't know they were a lower league team. I was just happy that we'd beaten 5-2. And I didn't understand it. And I think that's the best way to remember football. And that's why we always hark back to when we were kids, when we were picking out our best players.
Yeah.
There's so much financial jeopardy now as well. That's what makes it sort of more frustrating. You think the slim chance we've got of doing anything in these cups, but then you have a bad start to the season, bad first half of the season, you almost sort of give it away because there's so much jeopardy on staying in the league that becomes all costs. No matter forget anything else, start getting results in the league, and then you see another year's gone by and another year's gone by where we've not.
It's funny. It's hard. You say you're 35, and then I think, blimey. So you are a child of the Premier League era. You've only ever known the Premier League.
And obviously, as it goes on, it's getting worse, isn't it? As well, there's just that.
Yeah.
Those 14, 13 teams. It's the start of the season. It's just stay in the league. There's no sort of.
Yeah, that's the first point of reference for.
Yeah, it's a good season. Is stay in the league. Whereas for fans, it's like, well, obviously you'd like to stay in the league, but you want to see someone at some point put that trophy on the table.
See, now you've opened another door for another question, Dan. Just when I think we were wrapping up. I hear a lot, especially by a lot of other fans, is the word progression. Do you need to see progression? Do you want to? Well, it's like, do you want to see progression? And what is progression?
Well, I suppose it depends how you define. So progression to most would be going up the league, but realistically, how far are we going to go under where we are? Because, like, as we said earlier, you could have a multi-billionaire come in, but then that's just another one to the list. It's not like how it was before. You get someone like that come in, you knew you was going to be competing. But I think now it's for us. Like we'd have a good season, then we might have like this season, not so good season in terms of the league, and then West Ham have always sort of surprised every now and again. But I think if I'm using the word progression as it is, I want to see us playing more positive football. I want to go and enjoy what I'm watching a bit more than what I am at the moment. That's at the moment for me. That is progression. Right. Obviously, winning this trophy would be, but predominantly, the bread and butter of it for me is I want to see us playing more positive football and good to watch.
Yeah. But no, I get, and that is, I fully understand the people. Obviously, look, I'm not really been one for getting rid of Moyes. I'm not a fan of sacking managers during the seasons, that's for sure, apart from Allardyce. But it's hard because I do buy into the fans that find it a chore going over there and watching that football. Because one of the things I thought with Allardyce was all we really were known for was playing good football because we didn't win things. And now we're not even playing good football. And I can see that with Moyes in the league.
Well, I think the attendances show that as well, don't they? Because I know they always say it's a sellout, but you look around the ground, there's always plenty of empties everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's got to play a part.
So, I mean, like, we'll finish up. So, 6th and 7th finish for Moyes and then a drop back. But for you, the progression realistically is the way we play rather than you're not too bothered about the 6th and 7th finishes.
No, well, we're never realistically going to stay there, are we? You think look at things are now.
No.
We're gonna. You have a good season like we did. You might sneak in there, but realistically for us, at the moment, I think we just need to see. What I want to see a better style of football, more positive football. I want to see us have a go at teams like we used to, rather than just sort of sitting off, and then last half hour, 20 minutes, we sort of have to try and have a go.
Yeah, and
But we need someone. But if you look at the youth team, they won that crop of players we've got in there. There's got to be one or two in there that we can bring through, and at least sort of become squad players for us. But again, like you say, Moyes isn't one historically to do that. So if you're going to change, you need someone that's going to nurture these kids, someone that's going to give them, if they're good enough, give them that chance to have minutes and get in around the team and give them a chance.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find many people disagree with you, Dale. For me, having seen them played, I'd throw out that there's 4 that deserve a crack at first team football. Whether they make it or not, I find it. I remember going to watch the under-21s when Reece Oxford was playing, and he was great. And next to him, I think was Declan Rice, and I can't say I noticed him. So it just goes to show you, you know. But then that proves, in a way, that if you know, Reece Oxford was the one that was well thought of, and yet Declan Rice has become almost an international star.
He's become the player that everyone expected Reece Oxford to be.
Yes, yeah. If you look back to Oxford's, that first game against Ozil, and he did follow it up. He came on. I think he played about 4 or 5 that season. Might have been more. But we were falling over ourselves with good reason, in a way, because for a 16-year-old lad to come in and play the way he did, but obviously there was Declan Rice. So, and Ben Johnson was. I don't know. The funny thing is, if you look back, we lost. Who were the two? So we lost Ngakia, didn't we?
Yeah.
And
then was
then
it Dean Garner, wasn't it, for big money?
no, well, I was thinking of like right backs. We had a couple of right backs come through,
Reece Burke.
and then Ngakia went off to Watford, and it was like, don't worry, because we got Ben Johnson coming through. And I don't know if is it whether there's a bit of me thinks is it Moyes? Is Moyes the problem there with Ben Johnson? Because he seems to have regressed rather than progressed.
He seems to have completely lost his way.
Yeah.
There's a shadow of what we had.
Yeah, because
12, 18 months ago.
Yeah, he did look like he would. They were right in allowing Ngakia to walk away for nothing, because we don't. At the end of the day, we know we've got a better player.
There's always been a lot of uproar the last few years when we've let some of these players go, but none of them have come back to bite us, have they?
No.
And then you look at the ones that we've sent out on loan, and no disrespect, but you look at the sort of teams that they're going out on loan to, and you sort of think, well, are they really going to make it when they're going out to sort of League Two teams, conference teams?
There's always a worry that you're just going to create League One or League Two players. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, like I say, if this crop is supposed to be the best that we've had since that Cole era, then it'd be interesting to see the ones that go out on loan. Really, they should be going to decent Championship sides and getting games if they're gonna. That should.
Yeah.
Should show us how good they really are.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Dan. I'd like to thank you, really, for coming on and doing this.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
No, cheers, it's been good.
We learned a lot from you, actually.
Yeah,
Oh, I did.
we've learned.
The suffering of the generation.
Yeah.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
You're sort of the first of the Premier League generation. I mean, how do you quickly before we go? I know, keep checking. How do you view? It's funny. What makes you listen to old farts like me and Lennon?
Take the piss out of Sean. I think that's what
Well,
it is.
yeah. Well, yeah. You think I'd love to know how many fuck off Sean's there's been over the season. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, obviously, like you obviously you listen. There's so many different places you can listen to football or West Ham related stuff. But obviously, you appreciate, like, obviously people, they know what they're talking about. They, obviously ripping into Sean's always a plus, isn't it? But it's just it reminds you actually there has been good days, and hopefully there will be some good days again. Hopefully starting Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's been bloody long enough.
Yeah. Good days are round the corner, people.
Yep.
And we are about to turn that corner.
Yeah.
Reset that clock.
And let's hope it's not cul-de-sac. Anyway.
It's a dead end.
There you go. Dan, I'd like to thank you for coming on for this, the first of the summer's propaganda. There'll be more to come. Next week, it'll be a normal podcast, people. I'm sure someone will be back from Spain and we'll be picking apart the game. I hope the club do us proud, or I hope the players turn up and do us proud.
Yeah.
And that's all I can ask for, really.
Yeah. Everyone enjoy yourself who's going.
Yeah, at the time of your
Players,
life.
just do your best.
Yeah.
That we can ask for.
That's all I'll say. I'll see you all later. Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Getting to know you, having a good nose about you, having a gander, looking at what makes you tick.